Several American fertility clinics are reporting an increase in couples coming to them without any fertility issues at all, but rather a desire for something called family balancing, the gender selection that can take place during an IVF cycle if the clinic allows it. Here to discuss further is WSJ health reporter Sumathi Reddy. Hi, Sumathi. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
So I don't think many people realize that gender selection is allowed during an IVF cycle in some instances.
Yeah, so I was surprised to hear this, but I would say a majority of clinics in the U.S. do offer the service. And depending on the clinic, some of them really market it, and it's actually become a big niche for them.
There's an ethics committee, though, that oversees all of this, right? And what do they say about this?
So there's different professional organizations, and they're sort of split on this. The OBGYN group believes this should not be done unless it's related to a genetic disease, like certain diseases are more prone if you're female or if you're male. But the fertility specialist groups, they're saying it's fine either way. You're under no ethical obligation to do it or to not do it.
Now, I understand that there are sort of two ways of looking at this. One is family balancing, which is to say if a couple comes to the clinic with a child already of one gender and say they want the other, that's seen as okay. They're not showing a preference for one gender over the other. But there are some clinics that will offer gender selection even for the first child. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. And so they say, okay, if a couple knows we only want one child, we want to make sure it's a boy, then who are we to not give them that choice?
Interesting, even though that shows a very clear gender preference for the first child.
Yes, yes.
Very interesting. Now, what do these clinics say? Is this becoming more and more popular?
You know, it depends on the clinic. I think there are certain clinics that have made a name for themselves, and a lot of the business is actually coming from abroad. So countries like Canada, Australia, a lot of Western Europe do not allow this.
So it is illegal in many other countries?
Yeah, so unless it's related to a genetic disease, they're not going to do it.
But it must not come cheap. What does selecting the gender of your baby cost?
Yeah, so it's pretty expensive. If you combine IVF with the PGD, which is the technology they use to do this, it's almost up to $20,000, maybe a little bit less.
Wow, and you interviewed one couple from Australia who had to, save a lot of money, even redo their mortgage, all of this just for this, and they say they would do it again, correct?
Yeah, so this couple had 3 boys. They really wanted a 4th child, but they really wanted a baby girl, and they went through 2 cycles of IVF, traveled all the way to California, saved a lot of money, and got their baby girl.
It's interesting. One of the ethics doctors that you interviewed said that he was worried that this would increase a preference for boys, but clinics are reporting actually more people are requesting girls. Is that right?
Yeah, a lot of the clinics I talked to said usually it's like 50-50, and they do pay attention to that, or if anything, it's like more on the side of girls.
A preference for girls. Very interesting. So what are the concerns here, though?
So the current concerns are, where does this end? Like, once we can find the genes for intelligence or height or eye color, who's to stop anyone from using that?
Right.
But I did talk to a few people who said that sex is very simple to determine, but a lot of these other traits involve a lot of genes, so it's not as simple to do that. And technology does not exist for that yet.
Right, for choosing eye color and hair color and the rest of it. Now, are there any health risks to either the baby or the mother here?
In general, IVF is considered a pretty safe procedure. As with any procedure, there's the risk of, bleeding, infection, that kind of thing. But in general, it's pretty safe. And IVF is still under study, but they say a lot of the risks for the child later on seem to do with more with infertility than the actual procedure.
Right. All right, so I guess doctors are sort of divided over this issue on one side or the other. All right, Sumathi Reddy, thank you so much for that.